29. Do we have a motion to go back into regular session?
I'll make the motion, Judge.
I did. Go.
Motion's been made and second to go back in regular session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
In reference to item number 15, which is from number 10, executive session. Question possible action regarding any litigation in U.S. District Court. Styled Dylan B. Davis individually as independent administrator of and behalf of the estate of James Dean Davis and James Dean Davis, heir-in-law, and on behalf of Peggy Herbert versus LaSalle County, Beatriz Marie Hernandez, Yvette Marie Martinez, Francisca G. Garza, aka Francis Garza, and Mary Olivares, Ana Maria Olivares, aka Ana Maria Olivares, Elizabeth Murray, and Dorothy Marie Ramirez, and all other actions necessary thereto. Mr. Shaughnessy.
Your Honor, as we, well, let me just jump right in. There is a proposed settlement of the Davis case. The settlement would require the county to participate, and we, both myself and Mr. Saltero, recommend the settlement and the county's participation. We'd ask that the court authorize us to take all, pass a motion authorizing us to take all actions necessary to facilitate the settlement of the Davis case, with the county participating up to $300,000 in the settlement that Texas Association of Counties has negotiated.
So the motion authorized Mr. Michael Shaughnessy and Carlos Sotero within the cooperation of Texas Association of Counties up to the amount of $300,000 to settle litigation claims by the plaintiffs and respective parties of the state of Dylan B. Davis or James Dean Davis.
Yes.
Make that motion, Judge.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Ayala, second by Commissioner Nieves. Is there any further discussion, Sheriff? You have agreement?
I agree with that.
All right. Then, that being said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Reference to I don't know if we're going to take any action in reference to Luis Torre. Mr. Sotero?
Your Honor, only that you authorized me to go ahead and file a motion for entry of final judgment pending receipt of the information that we've asked for pertaining to the oil and gas royalties and the other information.
Okay. So we would have a motion authorizing Mr. Sotero to proceed with the final judgment entry and request proper discovery or interrogatories or subpoenas of information that he needs to fulfill his final request.
Make that motion.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Number 18, discussion possible action potential litigation against Dora Gonzalez, South County tax assessor related to unauthorized removal of qualified persons from the South County border road.
Judge, with regard to that, I'd ask the court to pass a motion that authorizes us to determine whether voter registration duties and responsibilities can be taken over by a clerk that works outside the tax assessor's collector's office and answers to the commissioner's court. And if that is not possible, and that can't be accomplished in the next 4 to 6 weeks, that the court authorize Mr. Saltero and I to proceed to file suit against the tax assessor collector to prevent her from removing people from the active voter list and attempt to negotiate a agreed permanent injunction with her.
Judge, on that,
Yes, sir.
was that gonna be the final one, or we can table it for Commissioner Alvarez?
I mean, this is gonna be the final one. Otherwise we keep going back and forth. Yeah. Yeah. This has been going on for a while, and if you can come up to the mic and sit it back there, you know. Well, no, I mean, out of respect to the court and the procedures, it's the mic up here.
Spoke to Elizabeth this morning and she told me to ask you if you could table it. That's basically what it is.
This is the thing is, Ms. Martinez has been very forthcoming to us and letting us know if she can. You know, it'd be good if we got any information on it. And she hasn't explained to me, she's been pretty forward to receive an email. The thing is that we have some election stuff and things keep coming up on the elections, even on the boundary issues in the city. You know, we have a lot of questions, we've got things, you've given testimony here where you haven't told us the truth.
No, sir, I told you exactly
No, ma'am.
what the truth. I did not do anything wrong. And I
You
stand by
admitted
that.
closing people, you removing people,
No, sir.
that you went by to visit people. So we
I
have
went
that
what?
information. We
I-
have that information from the prior testimony. And I'm saying, can't keep going through this
I know,
because we've already decided to form a different division.
and I am telling you right
But-
now, I didn't do anything wrong.
The thing is, our attorneys are here and they've asked you to
Mhm.
prove information from the
I
Secretary of
have
State.
given them stuff.
But please let us speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Ask you to prove emails that show, and you haven't been able to. We've done open record requests to the Secretary of State, and they're saying nothing, that they gave you the ability to do what you did to
Joel, I
suspend
gave
people.
him that email. I
Ma'am?
gave him the email where they sent me the list of what I can cancel and what I can't cancel. I don't do
Okay.
anything on my own. Everything comes through them.
So individually,
Didn't
anybody
do
that you canceled, they told you to cancel it.
They give me a list.
Of people.
Judge,
so that I
Yes,
Judge, can I ask a question?
yes, sir.
You have previously told me and told the court that the Secretary of State's office sent you a list of people who needed to be moved to the suspense list. You've said that several times. All right. Now, I asked the Secretary of State's office whether it did that, and it said no. I asked them for all their communications with you, and they never sent you such a list. They sent me all of their communications. I've asked you for a copy of any list of persons that the Secretary of State's office told you to move to the suspense list. You sent me a lot of emails. There's no list
There
that's
is a list and I
moved these
sent it to
people
you.
over. What?
I sent it to you. I even
You're
spoke,
saying the Secretary of State, no, ma'am, I need to be perfectly clear here. You're telling me in this court under oath that the Secretary of State's, the Texas Secretary of State's office identified voters in LaSalle County that it was directing you to move to the suspense list?
they have a suspense list.
No,
And
no, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm sorry. This is a simple yes or no. And I want to make perfectly clear what I'm asking here. Because we've talked about this on at least a dozen occasions, and 3 of them under oath in front of the Commissioners Court. Are you saying today under oath that the Texas Secretary of State's office sent you a list of voters in LaSalle County who it was directing you to move to the suspense list? Yes or no?
I misunderstood. No.
Yeah.
As-
Those people got moved to the suspense list at your direction.
There's 2 different things here. There's a cancellation and there's a suspense list. If you're talking about the suspense list, that one is a mass mail suspense list. That has been since I started working. That is something that happens every 2 years. You get a suspense list, you get the mass mail out that goes out. When it has a wrong address, it comes back. I have to send a confirmation notice. If they don't confirm it, it goes back into suspense.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a moment. Let's talk about that for a moment, because you appeared in the Commissioners Court in January and said only 50 people had been placed on the suspense list. When we got the list, it was hundreds of people, okay? At that time, I asked you, who directed you to move each of these people to the suspense list? Your statement was, I moved everyone the Secretary of State's office told me to move. You said the Secretary of State's office identified for you who to move over. And that you now admit is not true, correct?
I must have understood. I don't know. I did. When I asked or talked to Joel about the listing, I was giving him an example of what the Secretary of State gives us to cancel. We don't do anything on our own. And this is why
Okay, no. Ma'am, I've reviewed every document you've received from the Secretary of State's office. The Secretary of State has never told you to move one single person by name to the suspense list or cancel one single person.
I think there's a misunderstanding here, because according to what I know, they send me a list of what I need to remove and what I need to keep.
Okay, then let me ask you this. Today, before the close of business, can you provide me and the members of the Commissioners Court with any list from the Secretary of State's office who identifies voters you are to move to the suspense list or to cancel? Will you agree to do that?
Yes, I can. Yes. And you have that list.
No, I don't.
I sent you the list in spreadsheet and in.
No, ma'am. I don't want a spreadsheet. I want something from the Secretary of State's office that tells you.
You have it.
Okay, please send me any email with attachments from the Secretary of State's office that tells you here are specific people you are to remove.
And this is why I'm telling you that you all need to let me know when this is going on so I can get prepared. I have no legal counsel here.
We've been asking for information
I have
for a
given
while,
you all the
and we're not
information.
required to give you legal counsel.
According to what I,
You can request, you can pay, you get reimbursed. This is the thing, Dora. The state, and what I'm looking at is the state gives you parameters. This is the law, you can do this. But what it comes down to, you decided what names you were gonna add to that row to move. Well, if that's the case, then the Secretary of State, on their own format, would provide you documentation to remove these people.
Mhm.
Then we can compare it to the files that you did and see if they match.
Okay.
Because you mentioned in your own testimony downstairs when you talked about it, saying that you went to some of these people and saw that they weren't there and you moved them. Yes, ma'am. And we can go back to the states and pull that information out. So,
What do you mean that I went to their houses and
well,
moved
you
them?
drove by or something. I remember hearing
No,
that very
no, sir.
specifically.
I wouldn't do
And maybe
that.
you were so upset that you
I-
just said whatever was in your
I,
mind,
I
but it was
wouldn't,
said.
I would not do that, and I have never done that, Joel. My thing is that you all have not paid attention to those suspense voters. Every single year they have been in there.
Laura,
And
how long have you been in office? How long have you been working with the county?
20 years.
About 20
And
something
it's
years.
all one office.
Mhm.
And you've been there in the board of registration. And Margie's given you the redistricting deal. But
Mhm.
yet, even in a section where Mr. Peña, there should be precinct 5 can be corrected. And those are simple
It
mistakes.
is, it is corrected.
Now, it's corrected now, but it was listed as precinct 1 when it was 5.
No, sir. What happened when he asked, it was voters that the clerk had placed in the wrong precinct.
And who's the
The-
clerk?
The voters, I'm not gonna mention any names.
No, who's the clerk? It's out of your office.
Mhm.
There you go. So you're responsible for your employees.
I know I'm responsible, but the thing is that nobody tells me what's going on. You just assume. He assumed that I was putting them in precinct 1. There's streets that are named the same, but there's a difference. If you don't know the difference, you put them in that street and it takes it off to a different precinct. And that's what I went to do when he told me. And that's what I'm saying. If you communicate with me and tell me, I can go and check.
There's a lot of mistakes that are done.
There's not a lot of mistakes.
They are.
No.
There are.
Okay, will you at least acknowledge that in January of this year and in December of last year, you moved over 200 people to the suspense list? And then you sent them notice that they were on the suspense list in late January, when it became virtually impossible for them to get back on the active voter list. Will you admit that?
Because it all depends again. on-
Ma'am, it's a simple question. Did you move more than 200 voters onto the suspense list in December and January?
Depending on.
Okay,
how
and-
many of those
and-
confirmation notices.
No, wait.
Incorrect.
There's a statutory period for the confirmation period, for confirmation of addresses, right? That's set by statute, right?
Mhm.
Yes?
The date?
Isn't the confirmation period set by statute?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, you also know that when you send them notice, all right, they have a limited period of time to respond to get back on the active voter list before the primary, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, you were sending out notices at the end of January, in the beginning of February, when you knew it was virtually impossible for them to comply with the statute and get back on the active voter list, weren't you?
They still have that right.
No, ma'am. You were sending out the notices in late January and early February when you knew they would in all probability not be able to comply with the statute and get back on the active voter list, right?
Oh, probably didn't have enough time, yes,
Okay.
but that doesn't disqualify them from voting.
Yes,
They still can-
if they get the notice, correct? If they get the notice and figure out that if they show up, they can vote, then they might choose to vote. But you know that when people get the notice that tells them they're on the suspense list, many will assume they can't vote. You know that, don't you?
No, sir. I always tell my voters that they can still vote.
Well, if they call you,
And they all
if
know.
they call you or come in, right?
I'm sorry?
If they call you or come in, then you will tell them, right?
Yes,
But if they just read the letter from you that says you're suspended, it doesn't instruct them to show up and they'll still get to vote, right?
I think that's just as an assumption because I really don't know what they think when they. read.
Ma'am, you send them a letter saying they're suspended, right?
Mhm.
And your suspense letter does not tell them, just show up and vote and you'll still be able
Letter,
to
that's
vote.
a state mandated letter. so
No.
it has nothing to do with.
No. Wait, just a second. You and I already had this conversation. you can choose to add information to the state mandated letter. You know that, don't you?
Do I know what?
You know that you can add information to the state mandated letter, right?
Probably so.
Yeah.
But the thing
And,
already
and
comes
you,
out, so why would I add anything else?
so that they will know that if they show up, they'll still be able to vote. You chose not to add any of that language to the letters you were sending.
Goodness. See, and that's a state mandated thing, so.
No, ma'am, it's not state mandated.
Their thing.
It sets certain minimum standards, minimum amounts of information that have to be provided. The Secretary of State's office has never told you you can't add additional information, has it? The Secretary of State's office has never said you can take this minimum letter and add additional information. It's never told you that, has it?
Probably not, I don't remember. So anyway, my thing is, I didn't do anything wrong. If you want to table it, that's what Elizabeth asked me to do.
I want to deal with it.
Ms. Martinez is not here. You've been favoring her, Commissioner.
But,
You've been
I know-
favoring
I
her,
know
but,
she's not.
but pick a, I mean, you're gonna do the job and do it right. Because look at Kelly Vesper. Kelly Vesper has always lived in her precinct.
Yes.
And she was over there in Artesia. Oh, but it doesn't affect anybody can vote. Yeah, they can vote the wrong precinct. They didn't vote, and there's a number of other people the same way.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. But if you wanna be everybody's friend and not do your job either, this is what we're at.
Commissioner,
I mean,
there was,
aside, because this is the thing, we've heard.
I asked you to table it earlier because Alba wants to be
The
here.
thing is, I could have called. He hasn't called me.
So he said, he told me.
Well, he's not here. He's not here. So we're the
And I
forum.
said, yes, we need a full form.
We're the forum. No, we don't need a
We need
forum.
a full form.
We don't need a forum because this is the thing. She's playing you all.
Nope.
Y'all pray, y'all get along.
She's
I
been
mean,
working there for
no,
so long.
no,
She
it's
can't do
not.
those
It's
mistakes.
the same thing. We had a mistake last year that cost us $22 million. Nothing happened. Oh, but if she can't do it, well, she needs your check. Well, the thing is, everybody else pays for those mistakes. But one
Joel,
of the things that you deal with people's right to vote. And when people's rights to vote
See.
are violated, are violated because they don't get to vote where it's serious business. And he's been asking for questions, specific list of who the Secretary of State asked. And it's going around in circles and circles and circles. I know, I don't want to tell you, I don't want to be involved, make a decision.
But she needs an attorney here too.
Well, no, she doesn't, you represent the county.
No,
You represent the county.
It's not enough.
No, it's not enough.
We need Ms.
I mean,
Martinez.
the thing is, people do wrong, people steal, people do things, and nothing happens. Nothing happens because it's so done all the time. It's okay to do it, it's not. People are being cheated out of the right to vote in the right precinct, and it should be done. We already voted to sue her, but out of a courtesy, bring it back because I want to bring harmony here. I like to do it, but you gotta admit you've done
I
wrong.
didn't do anything
But you
wrong.
have. You got people
Intentionally,
that
I
have
have not,
done.
no,
And
sir,
and then
No,
part of it
sir.
is you don't give us enough resources, well, you know what?
no, sir.
You get paid very well for that.
It's weird that all these years, nobody had ever done anything about the suspense list. It's always been there, and all of a sudden, everybody is confused
That's what I tell him. Nowadays, people are just moving.
Mr.
and yes, that's another thing.
Mr.
That's
Shaughnessy
another,
mentioned one thing, because in all the years he brought up the votes, I've never seen him slam a door, and he slammed the door when we asked him questions.
you don't want to
Yeah.
go into that one because you did something to me that upset me. Had nothing to do with,
And this is the thing.
you know what,
He's
Joel?
ask-
I need an
he's-
attorney.
He's asking me
I need
questions. And see, the thing is that she has you on your own pocket.
No.
And the words around it, she has
He
you
just
pocket.
said, I want to make sure I make the right
This
decision.
is the thing is, what's the right decision? She needs to do her job.
She's doing it.
No, she's not.
I want to table it.
And the reason I say is you've made statements, I'm not ayudando con la política. You've made
No,
statements.
I don't need.
Yes, you have. Maybe you should abstain.
I don't need politics.
Maybe you should abstain.
I can. But, like my Martinez says, I want to make the motion, table it for the next meeting. Her deal. With the other ones, they're all okay. Is there a second?
Well, you don't, it's all that, if you wanna make the motion, I say motion.
Okay,
You have a
I'll
second?
make the motion.
Then we'll die for a second. We'll take a second. The thing is, we're asking, read it, to see if we could bring over the voter registration with 4 to 6 weeks. If not, if not, we would proceed to file court and try to get an agreed judgment to correct this.
That's what I'm asking.
To correct it. That was the motion that was done. You say you want to table it. Table it. We've been going round and
Yeah,
round.
she was not gonna.
We've been going around, but she said nobody makes mistakes. Look at what happened, Mr.
She was not
Overstreet.
gonna come up
Mr.
front.
Overstreet had to come 5 times to vote. He had badness given to Margie where the people that were suspended didn't get to vote.
Right there at the Medina Street, at the Medina Street, there was 3 people there that I went over there to ask them for my vote because I noticed they were registered there. And they said they were gonna vote for Marisol already. They already, who changed it? And it's precinct 6. Who changed it? They already knew who they were gonna vote for. Huh? Who changed it? That's what I mean, you don't know,
No, her.
well, I don't know who changed it, that's what I
One of her
mean.
clerks made a mistake.
I mean, you know, it's precinct 6, Commissioner, and that lady went over there and changed them to 1, so they could vote for her. Who
There was
made
a
that?
lot of people moved. I don't know who does it or what, but a lot of people move people from one precinct to another.
But
That's
that's
not right.
precinct, that's not 1.
No, that's what I want to correct with her. Make sure she didn't do it.
Well, so who else?
Oh, you want to correct a lot, but you're not gonna rule one way or the other. You're not gonna make it, you just don't have it in you. As long as somebody messes with your little kingdom over there, it don't matter.
No, I have no opinion. It's just me.
That's the thing, is
Just-
we're trying to make a decision that, let's move over here. You don't want to sue it. But we need to get that information, and we need to make sure that November elections don't get tampered with or messed with. We already had one primary, and you don't suspend right before the election where people don't have a chance. She had all that other period of time. She had 2 years to do it, and she didn't do it. But right when she had somebody, boom, everybody gets suspended. The timing is not good. Now you got another election coming up, and it continues. Now you got another one in November coming up, and it continues. Now it's into the city stuff. All of those people know that inside the city limits over here are Palmas, inside city limits. You got people that live in there, different nationalities, they live in their hotels, they have the right to vote for their citizens, and they're listed outside the city limits. But they can pay city taxes, city sales taxes, but they can't vote. And I'm doing everything correct, there's something wrong there. And as long as they do, we haven't seen these problems, but maybe people weren't paying attention to them. You still have a lot of people in RV park
13
voting
years.
that I've never met in my life.
Never had that problem in 13 years so far.
I've never met. But the thing is that we deal with administration, you come and just look at it here. You know, and we've had it over and over with. So we said we were gonna form an elections division. Now you're saying it's okay. I mean, but then you go out there and you say something else. And you don't think I don't hear about it, or you don't find out about it, or people don't say, they do.
Whatever you need.
So your motion was made, were you second the motion? Or, I mean,
What are we doing the motion for?
the thing is,
Table it
we
for,
already approved it. We already
That's
approved the
been a-
lawsuit. And we had already approved the lawsuit, but out of a courtesy for you all, because that we need cooperation, changing it over, they said, let's get it converted, let's bring it over. But there's continued problems that happen, and they're not stopping. So we had said we'll do it for next year, but you know what, we got a November election, there's too
I
many
asked you
problems.
to do it next year, but you're
But-
insistent.
But this is the thing, she's continuing with her problem. She's continuing with it. And if it was so good, why did she let that person go? Why didn't she do the name of this work? he's responsible for that person. Because I am responsible for mine and you're responsible for yours. And we just agreed to pay a lump sum of money for the individual of an employee of the sheriff that did wrong. It's not his fault. But we just agreed to pay quite a bit of money. But you have to take a stance. You're either right or you're wrong. Let it go. Just let it go. But because if this thing goes sour, don't be saying, well, it's the judge, because that's what I hear from me. Well, it's the judge. I'll tell the folks, hey, it's the judge who's doing this and that. Because I hear it. You don't want to fix the road, it's here. It's the same thing with this. Look at some people.
See,
I
nobody
want to say to people, I'm pulling this on to me.
And I go there, nobody tells me. I mean,
I hear it. I hear it.
No, there's a lot of hearing that's not said.
From March till now, how many more people were suspended?
We can get the data. We can get the data. I mean, I don't mind to table the items, but it has to come to an end. And you're gonna have to make a decision because there's a thing, this goes in deep.
Takes time.
No, it doesn't take time. People have the right to vote and we're messing with the right to vote.
Just like that.
It's been added for a month.
You gotta have patience, you gotta take time.
We've made some big mistakes.
I gotta do some investigation, I gotta hire somebody that, if I have to pay, to make sure she's okay. I mean, she don't have a
Oh, you're
lawyer.
gonna hire all the money.
My personal money, ask another lawyer, ask somebody, another county treasurer, Texas assessor. I need to ask, I don't have time. If
And
it's,
that's why I said, because you're personally involved and you wanna give her a gift of attorney fee, that you should abstain, not even make your motion.
oh, I know, it's just.
We've been going at this for a long time, and when people can't vote, it's Joel's
Once
fault.
the elections are
You
done.
make the
you're not gonna
decision,
bring
no.
this up again.
The thing is, no, it has to be corrected.
Once
It's
they're
not
done.
another election. It's over and over. These things go.
It's okay, just continue. We got, people need to go.
So the item is that we have an item and you set the table,
I wanted to say,
the table. And it has a second. You know, I mean, I don't know if it has a second, but it has a
we don't
second.
know yet.
So then it dies for lack of second.
What are we tabling? Just the hiring, the
Just her.
hiring part or the election part?
Well, this
Because
is,
we jumped from,
well, this is the thing.
we jumped from,
We were already approved to hire a voter registration person
yes,
and to set up elections division. That takes time.
November,
The
next
issue
year.
that we're running into is that the problems in the voter registration records continue. And you got a November election. And I said, if we can speed it up, already take it from us in November, we decide who to hire to put in ahead of time, then we don't have that problem in November no more. Or if that cannot happen, then we gotta file against her, but we cannot have happen what's happened before, because you don't do that right away again for the November election.
So we're gonna hire somebody, but when do we need to hire?
Well, the thing is, we've advertised, he's gonna re-advertise, and then we come up in 2 weeks or 3 weeks to move it. That building is ready already.
Because it needs to be on the website.
I mean, we can
Or
put
the
it on the
county,
website
or
and
the-
hire, but it has to hire,
And it-
we can hire someone for the voter registration role.
Right.
Well, let's hire somebody else and that's it.
You gotta advertise.
I mean, we'll re-advertise. We'll re-advertise.
and by doing this, Dora, Mr. Shaughnessy and Sotero, are they gonna continue with this process or is it
No,
gonna?
this is his recommendation. They haven't filed the lawsuit because they want our cooperation and understanding. Otherwise, we already authorized them, but anytime you do this, you have some people, oh, they feel sorry for her, or what are we gonna get out of it, what's the correction? But the thing is that we're still a local government body, and we're expected to make sure that government runs smoothly. Everybody has their own powers that they can do, and we can't tell the sheriff, don't arrest that person or arrest this person. She makes a decision. She makes a decision who to contact. When it's not being done fairly, you know, when it's not being done fairly, then it becomes a problem. I'm gonna tell you one thing she said there. She said, my people, I told my people. Does that mean only the people that supported her?
County,
And she wasn't gonna tell anybody else.
county,
So,
just whole county.
so that needs to be clarified. So we've already authorized the lawsuit. The thing is can we convert this and within 4 weeks and get it started to where we've already taken away from her? Keep in mind, we've already lost over $20 million from that mistake. We've already lost $22 million. We could have gone back and assessed everybody. Are you gonna make the old people pay more? Are you gonna make everybody else pay more? The ranchers for stuff that she did. And we're getting to some tough times. Do your job. They gotta do their job.
And one of the possibilities that was discussed was the allowing or authorizing us to research the hiring of a clerk to handle the registration responsibilities. We have been trying to work through and see if we can avoid a lawsuit, and this should be a interim step that could possibly help with that, with getting it straightened out.
That's what I wanna avoid, no lawsuit.
Everybody wants to avoid lawsuit, but the thing is, can we convert it with 4 to 6 weeks?
Let's
Can we
try,
convert it?
let's try.
And Margie's okay with it as well, right?
I mean, I think Marty's okay about changing it over. I mean, it was a lot easier when you had one party. Now you got two parties. It's made it very difficult. You got your November elections coming in. You got your November elections. And they're seriously that they want to run all the elections together. It'd be crazy, but if you don't, then you got the problem of election judges and creation. You know, so it's an odd year for elections. And maybe we never noticed what was going on because we didn't have time. But apparently the voters that looked at it this time noticed everything. And the people running, so many people running, they noticed everything. And they brought it to attention. Maybe when you and I ran, we didn't worry about all those people from the oil fields that were RV parked. Never.
Yeah, I never.
You know, we didn't worry. You know, got out there.
I didn't know you could register outsiders, just like that.
If they say they live here, they meet the minimum requirements, fine. You know, if they intend to live here, you got people voting here that haven't lived here in 30, 40 years, but they plan to come back to Cthulhu someday.
No, I'm talking about these also people. They're not from here.
But as long as they can go and vote in your street, they've been living here more than
A
X
month?
amount of days, they can vote.
Yeah, I
They
didn't
may
know
not
that.
be able to run for office, but they can vote.
I didn't know that one. But I'm learning more and more every day. Okay,
So, I mean, motion dies like a second. The only thing I ask is, we can make a motion to, you know what, authorize Mr. Shaughnessy to speed up the advertising and try to convert it in 4 to 6 weeks. And see if they can come up to an agreement. She said she has a lawyer now, an agreement with her lawyers to work on the resolution. There's no lawsuit, but work on an agreement if she has a lawyer. And that would be the form of my motion.
okay, no second.
Pues,
The motion's been made and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Number 19, discussion possible action regarding EP Energy Corporation, EP Company LP bankruptcy pending in bankruptcy court for Southern District of Texas. We need to get representation for mineral claims in bankruptcy court. We need to bring some other items from some other oil companies that are bankrupt. So I was suggesting that we get McGinnis Lockridge to proceed on making sure that claims for and protection of mineral rights are represented in bankruptcy court. So would there be a motion to authorize Mr. Shaughnessy, part of McGinnis, to file claims in bankruptcy court to make sure that our minerals are protected, interests are protected?
I'll move.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. It is, we've got South Texas Rural Health Agreement, pending and agreed. So, we would need a motion to authorize, South County, South Texas Rural Health for, inmate medical service agreement for the amount of $4,000 a month plus, additional cost at Medicaid, Medicare rates for inmates for the telemedicine, for a period for 2 years with, at least 90-day, 60 to 90-day, termination clause on both parts, on both parties.
16.
Go ahead.
16.
Yeah, 60.
Also move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. So, Mike, I know you gave us an update, Mr. Shaughnessy, on the legislative administrator. Would we need to take any actions at this point for 20 and 22?
Not at this point.
So we have a motion to table?
Yeah.
Motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Number 21 regarding the Palmas Nursing Home Management. I think we have a teleconference meeting tomorrow, Mr. Shaughnessy.
I think that's right. He had to step out for a moment.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of worry in the community in reference to the COVID and nursing home. And Mr. Finnenbaum has been working with Danny, been talking daily, concerning what they're doing. It's one of those things that this pandemic is everywhere. It's really everywhere. And it's just not like you can close a nursing home and move people out. They need special care, they need attention. Employees work there, and they're testing every week. We have spoken to some other people, but the transition's not gonna happen during the COVID. I did speak to Paul Finnenbaum. I said, hey, bring your people to get us understand how it's working on the operations side. Sit down with us, and they said they would sit down with us, explain to us as soon as they get a chance. Let it slow down. But I have reached out to them. They've been talking to Danny every day. And it's hard because this pandemic is everywhere. So I'll table this item until I get a chance to speak to Mr. Shaughnessy a little bit more. Is there a
motion?
Second. Motion's been made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the rest, Mr. Ray, do we take action with Mr. Ray, Carlos?
No.
No?
Yes, Your Honor, you guys authorized me to do what needed to be done for right now. We're gonna find out more information. Like I said, hopefully bring it to a final judgment. This court has appointed 2 people already on the committee, followed up to see if the person who's expressed interest to be nominated has been nominated by one of the church groups or not. And then the city, we are still waiting to hear from them as to who they are going to appoint on the committee. So at this point, there's no further action for the court to take.
All right. So at this moment, I'd like to table for lunch to come back in an hour and a half.
And Judge, may I be excused?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You may be-
Judge, do you need me when you come back?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, make the motion for recess for lunch.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?